the power of the government to enact and enforce criminal laws is constrained by the Constitution, and these constitutional limitations are designed to safeguard individual rights and liberties against the potential excess of the criminal justice system. One of the core principles is the rule of legality, which requires that individuals receive clear notice of prohibited acts. This rule provides the philosophical basis for two key constitutional prohibitions: bills of attainder and ex post facto laws. Bills of attainder, which are legislative acts that punish specific individuals or groups without a trial, are unconstitutional. For example, in the 1965 case United States v. Brown, the court held that a statute making it a crime for any member of the Communist Party to serve as an officer of a labor union was a bill of attainder. This was too targeted against a specific group of people, and now this could apply to a specific person, group, or corporation. Ex post facto laws, on the other hand, prevent the government from criminalizing acts that were lawful when committed. This also applies to punishments. For instance, let's say that Gina was found guilty of distributing illegal drugs. When Gina sold the drugs, the maximum punishment was 2 years in jail. But while she was on trial, a law was enacted making the punishment a minimum of 3 years. And so Gina is sentenced to 3 years. This would constitute an unconstitutional ex post facto law. At the time of the crime, the maximum was 2 years, so that is the most that she could be sentenced to. The Constitution also requires that criminal statutes be written with sufficient clarity to provide definite standards for law enforcement and for the public. Vague laws that grant excessive discretion to the police or prosecutors are unconstitutional because we're not giving that adequate notice of prohibited conduct. For example, let's say a law criminalizes annoying behavior. That would likely be struck down as unconstitutionally vague. What's annoying to one person may not be annoying to another. It just leaves too much up to discretion, which we try to avoid in the law. Another key constitutional limitation is the First Amendment's protection of expression, or freedom of speech. The courts have recognized that even offensive or disruptive speech is generally protected, as free speech is vital to the functioning of a democratic society. For example, the Supreme Court has upheld the right of individuals to set fire to the American flag as a form of political protest, despite the fact that many may find this very offensive. Now, keep in mind, if someone is burning an American flag, there may be other things that someone might be guilty of. So maybe the fire is not in a designated area that's allowed by law, or the flag didn't belong to them. So there are other ways that people are punished for these acts, but the burning of the flag as a form of political protest has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Additionally, the government can only restrict speech in limited circumstances where it poses a clear and present danger. So if someone's in a crowded movie theater and they yell fire, this could incite panic and cause harm to other people within the chaos. And so that's going to be restricted. The Equal Protection Clause further constrains the government's ability to enact criminal laws that discriminate against individuals or groups. Distinctions based on race or ethnicity face the highest level of scrutiny, and the government's the one who bears that very heavy burden to justify such classifications. The Supreme Court has struck down laws that imposed harsher sentences for possession of crack cocaine, which disproportionately affected African American communities compared to powder cocaine. Gender-based classifications in criminal laws are also subject to heightened review. For example, the Supreme Court has ruled that it is unconstitutional to have different ages of consent for sexual activity based on the gender of the participants. Finally, the constitutional right to privacy has implications for criminal law, as well as it protects individuals from governmental intrusion into these intimate aspects of their lives. This right has been interpreted to shield certain personal decisions and behaviors from criminal regulation, such as the use of contraception or the possession of handguns in the home for self-defense. So the Constitution imposes numerous limitations on the government's power to enact and enforce criminal laws. These safeguards, which are rooted in principles of due process, equal protection, and individual liberty, are absolutely essential to maintaining that delicate balance between the safety of the public and the preservation of fundamental rights in our free society.